Hey, everybody, welcome back to Music Talks. This is episode 8. I'm really excited to have my friend Anthony joining us today. So, I guess I should give an intro of you, Anthony. We met officially this past summer. I mean, I've known about you for a while, but this past summer when my good friend B, your now sister-in-law, was married. So, I had heard that you were a musician, heard all about you. So I'm excited this worked out. So thanks so much for being on the show today, and I'm excited to talk about music wherever that goes.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. This will be fun.
Absolutely, man. So I wanted to start out with like how did your music journey start? Like was there a band or a song growing up that you just loved? Like what was your first instrument that you learned? Like you can kind of go in any direction with that, but yeah, like how did music for you and the love of music and wanting to learn music start for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I really first remember just falling in love with the drums. That was kind of
Mm,
my first love instrument wise. And so I vaguely remember mostly through home video, just kind of banging on pots and pans, everything I could find. Just fell in love with it. And yeah, my parents got me a little drum set and then they gave me some lessons. And so I just fell in love with that, just practicing the drums. And then they ended up getting a piano. So then I kind of started the piano as well. Those were kind of about the same time, but also just loved the piano. And, I think it kind of started when I fell in love with the writing piece was, the typical, I'd go to music lessons and piano lessons and then just never practiced. And I was always trying to make up my own compositions and things.
like drumming on pots and pans, I definitely did that as a kid too, because like I feel like I always wanted to like I always wanted to get my own drum set, but my parents were like, "No, that's too loud," you know. And so it's like, yeah, like pots and pans, or just like drumming on the table or whatever, you know, I could put my hands on too. So it sounds like that was like a very similar experience for you as well.
Yeah, for sure. That was exactly it. And yeah, it definitely took them a while they were great about it, but yeah, full drum set, especially starting out, it's
Yeah,
a lot of noise, but they were awesome though. And
yeah, that's
yeah.
cool. Okay, so you started on drums, moving to piano, and then I know you're a guitarist as well, correct?
I am, yeah, I picked up
Okay.
the guitar quite a bit later, comparatively. Yeah, I ended up my mom, we kind of had a guitar just in the house, and so I'd kind of play around on it, but then I ended up taking some guitar lessons as well. Maybe when I was 11 or 12, kind of started out taking some guitar and also just kind of fell in love with that as well. And yeah, just started with the guitar and just kind of the basics. And kind of guitar was never, I think, as much of my passion, I think, as the other two starting out. So I kind of picked that up or re-picked it up a little bit later in life, maybe around kind of high school, college and stuff. Started getting serious about practicing that. But yeah, guitar. I love the guitar now though.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So for you, did you take music lessons, learning, kind of the fundamentals of things, or did you do kind of the more, self-taught route, or did you do, like a combination of both of those things?
Yeah, so I when I say lessons, it was kind of funny, just kind of bounced around and stuff, between teachers and then not having them for quite a while. So usually I never really had too many lessons, maybe a few months put together and stuff. But I think it was really during those times though I got, I think my first instructor, I kind of was able to get the basics of music theory and really got me started. And then same with guitar and drums as well, just kind of got the basics. And then I kind of just was mostly self-taught from there. So just the internet and just kind of playing around. And I really enjoyed, I think, the most. And I think I found kind of a knack for playing by ear mostly. So everything was by ear. And the times when I would have an instructor, they'd ban me from listening to the song because if I heard it, then I could play it. But
Sure.
sight reading and everything for any instrument was always such a challenge. But
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's such a unique experience for so many musicians. Like some are so good at just reading music, just really good at that. And then others are so good at just hearing it. And it is rare that you have kind of both of those, skills in one musician as well. Yeah. So for you, what kind of music did you grow up listening to? What were some inspirations for you, whether that's like a solo artist or a band, or yeah, like what kind of music do you find yourself kind of going back into and listening to?
yeah, so I think I'd be lying if I said my music tastes were diverse or kind
Yeah.
of, very, um, you know, uh, advanced, I guess. So I remember as a kid, though, listening to a lot of just contemporary Christian music and everything. So kind of a lot of like early 2000s Christian bands. And then, my dad would play a little early 2000s country and everything. So kind of grew up listening to that. But then I think kind of as a kid and then kind of growing up, I just kind of fell in love with more maybe alternative kind of instrumental guitar. John Mayer was
Yeah.
huge, when I was, kind of middle school, high school. And I think that really kind of reignited my passion for guitar and everything. So a lot of that, but then, yeah, I kind of have only recently, maybe in the past like 5 years and stuff is kind of started diving into the, enjoying the classical music
Mm,
and all that now. So, but yeah, I think it was really just kind of a huge diversity of music, just kind of everything. Yeah, I think what really inspired though, kind of a lot of the music that I was playing when I was practicing the most was a lot of just instrumental guitar, and stuff like that. So,
yeah, that's really cool. In your family, are you the only like musical person in your family, or do you come from a family that do other members of your family play instruments or sing, or are you kind of the only one in your family?
yeah, so my parents never really played any musical instruments or anything, and grandparents neither, and yeah, no relatives, aunts or uncles, anybody really is yeah, musicians or anything. But then as far as the siblings go, my sister plays a piano and then guitar and then has a great voice as well. So
Okay.
yeah, she does enjoys music, and making some music as well.
Sweet. That's sweet. Okay, so you're listening to, 2000s contemporary Christian music. Are there like certain bands in that era that you loved? Like I had a very similar upbringing. I'm thinking of like bands like Newsboys or Toby Mac or I don't know, Casting Crowns. There's probably a bunch of others that I'm not remembering right now. But yeah, were there any bands in that era that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this band?
Oh, 100%. It's funny you mentioned those three off the top because yeah, Newsboys, yeah, they're like early stuff. Casting Crowns too is huge.
Hmm.
Third Day was one of my favorites, I
Yeah,
think. Just
yeah,
loved Third Day. Still listen every now and then
yeah.
and stuff. Third Day, I think though the band that I remember falling in love with when I was younger was Need to Breathe and all
Yes.
their stuff. So still love them, but yeah, I think that was kind of my favorite artist for most of my childhood.
Yeah.
A lot of their stuff.
Yeah, they're so good. Yeah, we were just talking before we started recording about my college band, and we take a lot of our inspiration from Switchfoot, Need to Breathe, and they're just like they're so good. I love their sound.
Yeah.
It's so
No,
good.
it's so awesome.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, and I've seen them in live, I think only once, but their live, performances are amazing as well. Yeah, so yeah, Need to Breathe. I totally forgot about them. That's great.
Always wanted to see them live so bad, and just remembered as well. I think really where I fell in love with classical or more classic kind of orchestral composition was actually Michael W. Smith.
Sure.
Kind of in the same vein, but I think
Hmm.
he had an album called Freedom, and then another one that was similar. But I would listen to that album specific. I think the other one is Glory, but
Yeah.
just kind of the more orchestral music, and I think
Yeah.
that really. I think that still kind of influence. I still find myself coming back to some of those like motifs
Yeah.
and musical themes even now when I create. So yeah, that
Absolutely.
one as well was huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, he's such a good composer and arranger, and they kind of have this really interesting mix of like he's done the contemporary Christian route, but also has done these beautiful like orchestrations and beautiful orchestra albums. Yeah, so I think it's so cool. And so I kind of wanted to use that as a segue to talk about the music you create. So when we met this summer, I had heard that you were a musician, and everyone that I knew that knew you said, "Oh my gosh, you got to meet Anthony. He's such a great musician. He has all these compositions." And I remember when you sent them to me, I just was like, I was floored because I was like, "Oh my gosh, these are so epic," and it totally makes sense why you're talking about Michael W. Smith as like an inspiration for you as an arranger, as a composer, because I see, that in your music. So, do you kind of want to go through like like what was it like the first maybe instrumental you composed, like what that process was like, and I don't know what you've learned through all the different compositions you've made.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I kind of always have dabbled in, kind of DAWs and everything, the digital
Mm-hmm.
audio, kind of where you make the music,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. So I'd always dabbled in it, and I really tried to, or not tried, but unintentionally just kind of messed around with every different genre of music.
Mm-hmm.
But I really just fell in love with kind of the orchestral composition side of things and everything. And to be honest, I can't really, it's kind of been one of those things, just been doing, kind of building to making some of the songs that I am now. So, I'd say probably, kind of maybe end of high school and early college, just kind of messing around with it and not really finishing any song though. So it's kind of began like that, just kind of making little loops and just kind of growing, I think, the size of the compositions and starting to try to build in a little bit more complexity as well. So yeah, I think kind of recently though, maybe in the past 2 years, launched back into really trying to make full orchestral kind of cinematic compositions. But yeah, I think I really kind of have always just, when I create, I usually will find a theme or a motif or just kind of a main idea, usually on the piano,
Mm-hmm.
and then just kind of trying to do, still kind of working on building sound around that and starting to trying to dive into some music theory as well to kind
Mm-hmm.
of learn how to build kind of the rest of the pieces, cello, bass, viola, violins, and woodwinds, just kind of around those ideas. But yeah, just yeah, I've really started kind of gravitating mostly towards that though recently. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. You mentioned kind of dabbling in DAW in digital audio workstation. What's your DAW of choice, or how is that? Kind of the technical side of things. Like how has that experience been for you?
Yeah, so I think that's been the most frustrating and rewarding
Yeah.
part of it is, you have an idea of what it sounds like in your head, but I've kind of found it's definitely kind of taken the most time to kind of learn that side of things. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think DAW of choice though, it's a little embarrassing, but I've always been, as long as I can remember, FL Studio. So I'm
Yeah.
still kind of plugging along with that, just high school, I was always trying to make, rap beats
Yeah.
and stuff, and my friends would rap over them, and
Yeah.
so FL Studio is the way there. But then even now though, I've kind of stuck with that one. So yeah, I've been just trying to really dive into the kind of the mixing and mastering side as
Mm.
well, just to make what I have in my head, make it sound as similar as possible and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely mixing and mastering though, kind of the technical side of it has definitely been a huge challenge. But
So I want to talk about the process of creating, like for you. You kind of mentioned starting on the piano, building stuff around, but are there other inspirations that you take from when you're creating a song, whether that's like an emotion, a feeling, maybe something you're going through in your life? Yeah, maybe you're just talking about the process of you creating a little bit.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think honestly, I think emotion is 90% of kind of what drives a lot of creation. So I think, I've always been kind of a very emotional person in general. So just kind
Hmm.
of, feeling a lot of things. But I think it, bothered me for a while, but I think kind of learning to take that and kind of sit in it and
Hmm.
then use that to drive the creation and just creating in those spaces, I think has
Yeah.
been huge. And it, it's an amazing outlet for sure. So they kind of go hand in hand as well in that sense. But yeah, I think definitely just emotion is huge, and then also visuals as well sometimes. So I kind of find now I've been kind of trying to work with scoring. So I've kind of been finding like scenes or images or short videos, and then subtracting the sound, and then trying to build kind of a composition around that as well. So but that's also been super inspiring to kind of using the visual to drive
Yeah.
the music.
That's really cool. I love that. That's so unique and so fascinating. Um, yeah, I love using those different mediums to create the music that you're creating. Um, yeah, and like using our emotions as artists as fuel almost. Because I think sometimes we just think it's like, I have all these emotions and that's weird or whatever. But it's like you can use that to tell whatever story you're trying to say in the song you're creating, or song you're singing. Yeah, I was gonna ask you something else along the lines of this. Oh yeah, like how in terms of, I go through times where I'm creating or writing a lot, and then I go through times where I'm like, man, I just don't feel like it. How for you do you kind of overcome that, or what has that process been like for you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that was kind of a huge kind of thing to overcome. I think was those moment, when I kind of hit a huge kind of stretch of time to where I just didn't feel like creating,
Hmm.
and kind of wasn't inspired to pick up an instrument and
Hmm.
all those things. And it was kind of the worst, one of the worst periods in terms of,
Hmm.
just kind of that not having that motivation or desire to make
Hmm.
music. But I think I think I would get stressed or frustrated at not making music.
Yeah.
So it almost felt like this cycle that was kind of
Yeah.
endlessly repeating and feeding itself, to where, the more I wouldn't create, or, wouldn't really find inspiration, kind of made me more frustrated. But I think now, it's kind of, I think I've kind of found that if I just kind of let it go, and kind of in a sense just be like, if I can't think of anything, I'll put it down and come back to it. And so I
Yeah.
think kind of taking some of the pressure internally off of creating, and just kind of letting it kind of be more organic and free, I think has
Yeah.
been huge. So there's some days where I just I'll have the time and sit down, and then just kind of you know play for a little bit, and then just kind of leave. Or I think, man, the past few months have been kind of this crazy roll of, most days, I can sit at the computer 8 hours,
Hmm.
forget to eat,
Hmm.
just not
Yeah.
really sleeping, just going, just inspired and excited. So, but yeah, I think, just kind of creating when I feel like I can, and then putting it down when, I'm not feeling it, is, kind of, I think, helped for sure.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, and I think it's kind of what you're describing. It's that ebb and flow of different things there too. And yeah, I think yeah, like not wanting to sit down and get it all done in one soup. I think sometimes, especially as musicians, I think we think that's how it's going to go. You sit down, it's like, oh my gosh, this isn't working this way. And then you just end up kind of canceling it. And I think there's something cool about what you're saying of like a little bit at a time, and coming back to it. And maybe those ideas will change, or maybe you'll have a new idea that will come on top of that as well. That maybe
100%.
enhances what you're doing.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think one thing that I'm still struggling with as well, but kind of trying to implement more is, kind of, exactly like you said, trying to make everything all at once, make a song in a day. Sometimes it happens, but those moments are rare. So I think, even if I'm still excited, kind of almost preserving that, trying to
Yeah.
stave off the burnout too, I think is
Hmm.
helped quite a bit, because working 8 hours on a song, one stop, it's like, do that for a little bit, but then I find to get tired of it and kind of get the ear fatigue as well. So it sounds
Yeah.
great when I'm doing it. Step away. Next morning I'll listen to it and delete it. So
Yeah.
it's moderation has definitely been
Yes.
huge though.
Yeah. I talk to other musician friends of mine all the time of like, man, like in the moment you feel so good about it. And then you come back, you're like, this is horrible. Like, this is the worst thing I've ever made. And it's also like, even in those moments, taking a step back or even sending it to other friends of yours that know music. And it's like, hey, like, I can't even like think about this. I don't have a pin. Like, I feel like I'm going straight to like, oh, it sucks. Like, can you like take a listen? Like, let me know, what you think of this, as well. Cause I think we're our own worst critics so much of the time. Um,
For sure. Yeah, really kind of. I think that's been kind of one thing I've been trying to work through now is like you said, just trying to, and my wife has been amazing, and she's, every day or a few times a week I'll have her listen to it, and it's been great because I've kind of told her, I was like, I won't be upset, won't be you know frustrated, as like just
yeah,
give it to me straight. And
yeah,
she's been awesome about like, oh, like I'd maybe do this different here, just kind of providing that input. But yeah, that's
yeah,
been kind of huge because yeah, that's exactly it. And then some things I don't like, but yeah, I think having somebody or a group of people to bounce ideas off of and collaborate with is definitely definitely a huge part of it.
absolutely. So I kind of want to end with talking about maybe some inspirations of music or musicians you have now. What are some bands or artists that you're listening to now that you've just been inspired by recently?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think recently, kind of doing a lot more work with scoring and the orchestral stuff. I've been really just kind of listening to the kind of the most popular but the greats in terms of that. So just the Hans Zimmer,
Mm,
John Williams,
mm-hmm,
the Michael, can never say his last name,
mm-hmm.
scored like Ratatouille, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Up,
yeah.
I believe it was as well. And then yeah, just kind of there. And then classically, I've really been listening to a lot of, I want to say his name's, don't want to say it wrong, but I think it's Arvo Part,
Mm-hmm,
I believe, in everything. So yeah, I really like his music. Just it was a huge return to minimalism, at
mm-hmm,
least at the time, and kind of a more minimalistic. But he was kind of, a lot of his inspiration came from hymns and everything, and music and all that of the Orthodox Church. And so I think kind
mm-hmm,
of those inspirations and kind of hearing the more minimalistic side of that is just so beautiful and
mm,
has been mostly inspiring as of late. And I still been trying to kind of keep things a little diverse and stuff. So I've been working on some jazz recently and kind of starting to do a few jazz songs as well. So that's
that's sweet.
been fun, and kind of like Cuban jazz,
Yeah.
some fusion, and for jazz like the Snarky Puppy,
Yes.
kind of that, just kind of stuff. And I think Corey Henry has also
Mm-hmm.
been huge lately. Just the organ is so cool
Yeah.
as well. And then yeah, just some also bluegrass as well. The Billy Strings is
Yeah.
it's one of my favorites, and Red Clay Strays, a little country.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm always switching up what I'm listening to, a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, I think it's kind of interesting, being able to draw from different genres and trying to incorporate different, you know, musical motifs and ideas into compositions of a totally different genre. So
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, I love even in those groups you just mentioned, there's so much like a wide range, of musical genres, but just different, even within those genres, like those musicians like spanning so many different styles. So I think that's really cool. For you, do you desire to release, these compositions you're making, or is it more like you right now are just interested in creating them?
yeah, so I think originally when I started kind of doing a ton of music creation and everything again, maybe around 2023, I think was when it really picked back up. And I was kind of looking at possibly going to music school, just kind of launching full in, wanted to do it for a career, but I think I put a lot of pressure on it. And I
Hmm.
really found that kind of led to that long period of time to where I just kind of struggled with creation and the
Hmm.
motivation, just because I think I was, extremely self-critical at that point of what I created, with the expectation of doing it long term, kind of as a career. And so one thing that really helped during that point was kind of taking a step back, and it's like I'm just gonna create for me, and
Yeah.
create what I enjoy,
Hmm.
what I like, and just, kind of not worry about my perception of what others might think
Yeah.
about it. And that kind
Yeah.
of freed me up creatively to where now, kind of recently, I've been trying to work on different collections of songs. So maybe 3 to 5 songs of different kind of genres or that kind of have a similar sound. So I'm definitely working right now on putting together yeah, kind of I guess a portfolio in a sense. Yeah, because I think my goal now is kind of shifted back towards, I think I would really like to try to do film scoring at some point. Kind of dabble in that. So yeah, I'm just really trying to build that portfolio. So I've been, kind of slowly releasing a few songs on Spotify, um,
Sweet.
some on YouTube as well. So yeah, it's one of the hard things is being super critical of what I
Yeah.
make. So a lot of times I'll keep it close to the chest, and
Yeah.
during that point was, sit my hard drive and then get deleted. So I think now I'm just trying
Yeah.
to kind of just, you know, let myself, kind of put it out there, and then just kind of, you know, do what it does from that point. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely hoping to release a full, maybe about 5 song kind of jazz album here soon, and then definitely kind of orchestral collection here soon as well. So those are kind of my two big projects for the first little bit of this year.
That's awesome, dude. That's so cool. Yeah, and I totally get it. Like releasing the music it is hard to just be like, all right, well, now it's out in the world and it's like hope people like it. And so yeah, kudos to you, dude, for like spending the time in that space of creation and releasing that out. And yeah, I've listened to a couple of the ones you've made, and it's just like, yeah, that film score like vibe I can totally see. And it's just like these epic sounding, songs that you've made. So that's so cool that you're doing that. Yeah, and like obviously if you're open to it, like I can link like where people can find that stuff. I'm sure they'll be interested in it when it comes out. But yeah, man, Anthony, thanks so much for joining us today. Yeah, you're just like super talented dude, super awesome, kind guy. So just thanks for like talking with me about music today.
For sure, man. Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely, man.